Holiness, Eminences, Excellences, Madam First Lady Edwards, dear academicians, greetings from Boston Harbor. My brief reflections today are focused on educating for the four powers. I quote from the Holy Father Pope Francis, now, and this is true power, the power of fraternity, the power of charity, the power of love, the power of humility. This is what Christ did. Herein lies true freedom. Those who have this power of humility, of service, of fraternity are free. The problem of poverty is an education problem. Millions of children and youth, members of the COVID generation, today continue to experience damage and dislocations that will mark their developmental pathways for years to come. COVID-19 can be best described as a long-lasting catastrophic emergency, inflicting loss on too many and robbing most of our youth the normative developmental pathways, learning opportunities, socializing with other children, seeking supports from caretakers, teachers, and extended family members. For millions, the pandemic also suddenly disrupted access to healthcare, nutrition, and the various other scaffolds needed for appropriate maturational development. According to the most recent statement by UNICEF, quote, across virtually every key measure of childhood, progress has gone backward worldwide in the months since the pandemic was declared, leaving children confronting a devastating and distorted new normal. Preliminary data show a horrific set of dynamics. Rates of child abuse, child and youth suicide ideation, child and youth suicide, child and youth trafficking have all become more insidious under COVID's malignant regime. Indeed, the World Health Organization Global Status Report on Preventing Violence Against Children warns of the, quote, dramatic impact of COVID-19 of violence against children. Abused children, missing children, children in flight, children of forcibly displaced migrants, children in modern slavery, children of color are enduring in an empire of suffering that COVID-19 is making harder to survey, prevent, and heal. COVID-19 has put millions of children at risk for diverse and complex reasons. Extreme poverty, as we've heard yesterday and earlier today, compromises socio-emotional and cognitive development. And Dr. Lipin, of course, has written fundamental work on this topic. Also, health and wellness in vulnerable population. Okay. COVID-19 is pushing with geologic force, probably an additional 150 plus million human beings into extreme poverty, global hunger, and malnutrition, even as progress is made, continue to cripple millions of children around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic is reversing important gains. Perhaps over 850 million are estimated to be suffering today from chronic hunger, regularly not getting enough food to conduct an active, normal life. Moving forward, international coordinated efforts are urgently needed to begin to reverse the effects of COVID-19 on children and youth. We must endeavor to develop new levers of change to make the institutions of society tasked with promoting the development of children more humane and equitable, more engaging and fulfilling, and more relevant to the desperate needs of children and youth around the world. We would do well to build on the efforts of two fundamental pillars: Pope Francis's radical call for a global education compact and SDG 4.7 on education. Moving forward, we must educate for the four powers: the power of fraternity, the power of charity, the power of love, the power of humility. On fraternity, teaching for the power of fraternity, and I see Professor Antonio Battero has joined us. Teaching for the power of fraternity is at the heart of the most important lesson of over 100 years of what we now call cognitive neuroscience. All learning is relational, involving the scaffolding of novice learners, but by more advanced learners in what is in essence a socio-emotional and cognitive pact of fraternity between the generations. On charity, the foundation of Christian charity, Pope Francis teaches us, is, quote, looking at others through the eyes of Jesus himself, and on the other hand, seeing Jesus in the face of the poor. The fundamental precept of humanism, in the words of a former past academician, the eminent French philosopher Paul Ricoeur, is, quote, finding myself in another, an idea well developed by Gravois earlier today. Education in the Platonic sense is knowing yourself in order to serve another. Without the power of love, there is no teaching, there is no learning. All teaching is at heart an act of love. There is a beautiful history, biography of the journey of physics novelist Leo Szilard, Eugene Wigner, and John von Neumann. That story begins with them as students, all in the same gymnasium in Budapest, and it's a study on the power of teaching love and identification with one mathematics teacher that touched their lives so profoundly before they were ready to come under the tutelage of Albert Einstein, first in Berlin, and then at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton. A good school that will follow the teachings of Pope Francis on the four powers is a school where teachers love their students. But I submit to you, a great school is a school where students love their teachers and thus are set on the voyage, lifelong voyage on the love of learning. We must endeavor to make schools places of true power, not vulgar places for the teaching of the next fad, silver bullet, or for a monomaniacal focus on a transition to the labor market predicated on the secular religion of the neoliberal logic where human beings are workers, not beings for flourishing in need of the four powers. Thank you very much.